Welcome to Shatter.
Support the channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. I promise even more interesting stories. It was dinner. Nothing fancy. Grilled chicken, steamed broccoli, a glass of wine she poured for herself without asking if I wanted one. We weren't fighting. There was no tension, no warning. She just put her fork down, looked up across the table, and said, "I'm not obligated to give you intimacy. I don't need it anymore. That's not what defines love." And just like that, the floor disappeared. I didn't speak, didn't blink, just sat there, holding a knife in one hand and a piece of cold chicken in the other, wondering if I'd heard her wrong. I hadn't. She was calm, flat, like she'd rehearsed it, like this was a TED Talk she'd been waiting to give. Not obligated. Doesn't need it. Not what defines love. The words circled in my skull like blood in a drain. I wanted to ask, then what does? Shared Netflix accounts? Co-signing loans? Arguing about groceries and pretending that makes us partners? Instead, I took a breath, swallowed the words, and said nothing. That's what really threw her. Not anger, not confusion, silence. Because silence has weight, especially from someone who used to fill a room with effort. I cleaned my plate, put it in the dishwasher, walked past her without touching her shoulder, without glancing back. And in my head, one question sat quietly. If love isn't closeness, isn't desire, isn't choosing each other on the worst days, then what the hell is it? We slept in the same bed that night, but it felt like opposite sides of a war. She scrolled on her phone, screen light flickering like a lighthouse in the dark. I stared at the ceiling. No music, no conversation, just her breathing, slow, distant, unaware. And me? I didn't feel hurt. Not yet. I felt calculation. I started cataloging. Quietly. The cold looks. The quick shutdowns. The way my touch had become a chore. The way she started dressing up to go out and dressing down when she was home with me. I wanted to believe it was stress. Hormones. A phase. But phases don't come with prepared speeches. This was a decision. And if she was allowed to make hers, then I was allowed to make mine. That night, I decided something too. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to fix. I was going to observe. And then, I was going to answer her distance with something colder. Indifference. Because if I wasn't worth wanting, then she wasn't worth chasing. The next morning, I made breakfast, for one. 2 eggs, toast, black coffee. Sat at the table. Ate slowly. Didn't offer her any. She walked in, still half asleep, expecting routine. Her eyes scanned the kitchen. No plate for her. No warmth in my voice. Just a nod and a sip from my mug. She didn't say anything, but I saw it. That tiny pause. That flicker of confusion. She wasn't used to this version of me. Detached. Focused. Unavailable. But I wasn't playing games. I was setting terms. She poured cereal. Sat across from me. Waited for the usual morning questions. How do you sleep? What's your schedule today? Want me to grab anything from the store? I said nothing. Because silence, when done right, isn't absence. It's control. I stopped asking where she was going. Stopped waiting up. Stopped checking if she'd eaten. She noticed. At first, she welcomed it. Called it space. Said it felt freeing. I let her believe that. But freedom without attention? It rots. A few days in, she started initiating small talk about the neighbors, her yoga class, the Netflix show we used to watch together. I listened. Didn't respond. Not to be cruel. To be clear. I wasn't mad. I was done performing. I wasn't her emotional airbag anymore. The man who cooked for 2 when only one was hungry. The man who rubbed her shoulders when she wouldn't touch mine. The man who planned weekends around her mood swings, just hoping for scraps of connection. That man. Retired. Now I observed. She dressed differently. Less effort at home. More effort when leaving. I noticed. She stopped asking if I liked her new hair color. I didn't comment. One night, she stood in front of the mirror longer than usual, wearing a dress I hadn't seen in over a year. Tight. Intentional. She turned slightly, checking angles. Waiting. No reaction. She walked out the door a little slower than normal. Expected a compliment. Got the soft click of a page turning from my book. She came home late. No explanation. No questions from me. Just silence. Not punishment. Proof. Proof of how quickly things feel empty when no one's trying anymore. A week passed. She started cooking again. Cleaning more. Playing our old playlist at dinner time. Little signals. But I wasn't decoding anymore. I was watching. Not for hope. For patterns. Because I already knew what this was. She wasn't reconnecting. She was reacting. to the silence, to the shift, to the man who'd stopped orbiting her moods like a loyal satellite. She thought distance would grant her power. What she didn't expect was mine. Silence makes space, not just between two people, but inside your own head. And once you stop reacting, the analysis begins. I found myself cataloging every moment I'd brushed aside over the past year. Her tone when I brought up intimacy, cold, clinical, like she was declining a meeting invite. The way she'd scroll through her phone during dinner, as never lifting unless it was something she wanted to say. The nights I reached for her, not just physically, but emotionally, and got a shoulder roll and a sigh like I was asking too much just by existing. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I got too boring, too predictable. Maybe I stopped making her feel excited, wanted, alive. But that's what they don't tell you. Excitement fades in every relationship. What lasts is effort. And effort, that was the part that died. Not overnight. Piece by piece. Week after week of small dismissals, quiet withdrawals, and the kind of mental exhaustion that builds when you're the only one trying to hold it together. I remember sitting in my car one afternoon, just staring at the dashboard, engine off, keys still in hand, and thinking, if I disappeared today, would she even flinch? And that was it. The real fracture. Not the lack of sex. Not the cold dinners. Not even the comment about not owing me anything. It was the realization that I'd become optional. Replaceable. A background process in a life we were supposed to be building together. That kind of neglect doesn't come from hate. It comes from comfort. She stopped valuing me because I made myself easy to ignore. I absorbed the hits. Smiled through the shutdowns. Kept showing up, hoping she'd notice, when what I should have done was leave the room. Or better yet, stay, but stop carrying the weight for both of us. That's when the three paths became clear. Path 1, keep going as we are. A cold, transactional marriage where no one cheats, but everyone loses. Path 2, walk out. Quietly. Take the dignity I had left and start over with someone who still believed in effort. Path 3, make her see what she gave up. Not by punishing, not by yelling, but by becoming so complete, so unbothered, so self-contained, she'd have no choice but to recognize what she lost. I chose the third, because the first was death, and the second was too easy. She needed to feel what I'd lived with, to sit across from someone she once had full access to and realize the locks had changed, without a sound. And now, she was the outsider. It started small. I stopped reminding her to set her alarm. Stopped filling in the blanks of her life, the ones she always expected me to carry without asking. She forgot to take her car in for service. It sat in the driveway 3 extra days. She missed a deadline on a project because I didn't bring her coffee that morning or nudge her into starting on time. I didn't say a word. She noticed. She started watching me. Not obviously. Just those quick, silent scans, the kind that come when someone who used to orbit you suddenly becomes still. I was present, polite, but emotionally gone. No more asking how her day was. No more back and forth about her work stress or whether her friend from college was still ghosting her texts. She used to vent for 20 minutes about those things, expecting nods, affirmations, soft reassurances. Now, she spoke into silence. And that silence echoed. She dressed up more. Hair done. Makeup before noon. Not for an event, just to walk into the kitchen while I sipped coffee in my hoodie and kept reading. I didn't react. She lingered. Still nothing. The comments started. You're so quiet lately. Are we okay? You seem different. I smiled. Soft. Neutral. I'm just focusing on myself. And I was. I hit the gym harder. Ate cleaner. Started logging my food again, tracking macros like I used to in my 20s before I let stress chew through me. I got sharper. Clearer. Not for her. For the man I used to be before I begged for scraps of affection in my own house. She stopped asking me to do little things, fix the cabinet hinge, replace the porch light, help her choose a gift for her sister. Because each time she did, I'd say, you can handle it. You're strong, right? And I meant it. I was just giving her the world she claimed to want. Independent. No obligations. No false closeness. She said intimacy wasn't owed? Fine. But neither was presence. Neither was attention. And the thing about withdrawal? It's not visible at first. It's subtle. Like air pressure dropping before a storm. She began to squirm in it. Dinner got quieter. She stopped eating in the same room. One night, she came in wearing a hoodie I hadn't seen in years, mine, the one she used to steal from my drawer when she missed me. She sat across from me. Looked down. I miss us, she said. I took a breath. Let it hang in the air. You said love isn't about closeness, I replied. So I stopped assuming you needed it. She looked like she'd been slapped with her own words. Because that's the thing about freedom, it's thrilling, until it turns into isolation. And now? She was alone. Not because I left, but because I stopped anchoring her. And when someone's used to you being their center, that shift feels like abandonment. But it's not. It's just them, meeting the version of themselves they created. The first real crack came on a Thursday night. I was in the living room, scrolling through old photos on my phone, not out of nostalgia, just clearing space. Digital spring cleaning. She walked in wearing that deep green dress, the one she used to save for our anniversaries. Hair curled. Light perfume. Lip gloss, not lipstick. Subtle. Meant for someone she still wanted to impress. She stood in the doorway, watching me. I didn't look up. She cleared her throat, shifted weight from one foot to the other. Do you want to watch something together tonight? She asked. It was the first time in weeks she'd initiated anything beyond the logistics of living together. I didn't answer right away. Took another moment. Closed the gallery. Set the phone down. Then looked her in the eye. I'm good, I said. Flat. Honest. No malice. Just like she'd been when she told me what she didn't know me. Her face barely moved, but I saw it. The recoil behind the eyes. The slow realization. This wasn't a phase. This was who I'd become. The next day, she made my favorite dinner. Took extra time plating it. Lit a candle. No occasion. I thanked her. Ate it. Did the dishes. Then went to bed early. Alone. No comment. No emotional currency in return. That weekend, I caught her crying in the bathroom. She didn't know I saw. She thought I was in the garage, but I passed the hallway at just the right angle. Door cracked. Lights off. Just the sound of her trying to muffle sobs with a towel. I didn't go in. Because the moment wasn't about comfort. It was about consequence. And this was the consequence of years spent slowly unlearning connection and teaching me silence. On Sunday morning, she broke. We were having coffee. No music. No words. She set her mug down hard enough to rattle the table. I can't take this anymore, she said, voice shaking. You're a ghost. You don't see me. You don't touch me. You're in this house, but you're not here. I looked at her. Calm. Controlled. You told me you didn't know me closeness, I said. And I listened. She stared at me, blinking fast, like she couldn't believe I remembered her exact words. I didn't mean forever, she said. I was angry. I didn't think. You didn't have to, I interrupted. I heard you loud and clear. She went quiet. And for the first time, she looked scared. Not of me. Of the silence she created, now turned back on her. I miss you, she whispered. I miss how it used to feel. I leaned back. Measured breath. You said love wasn't about closeness. So I stopped giving it. You didn't break the marriage with one sentence. You eroded it, one withdrawal at a time. I just stopped patching the leaks. Her eyes welled up, but I didn't reach across the table. Because this wasn't punishment. It was perspective. She had finally come face to face with what she'd built. And I wasn't going to demolish it. I was going to walk away from it. If and when I decided it no longer served me. I packed a small bag the next morning. No announcement. No long speech. Just 3 shirts, 2 pairs of jeans, chargers, my journal, and the keys. She stood in the hallway, arms folded, wearing the same hoodie she used to steal from my side of the closet. It hung off her like it didn't belong to her anymore. Where are you going? She asked. Out, I said. For how long? I zipped the bag. Long enough. She didn't follow me to the door. She didn't beg. But I saw it, that flash of panic, the kind that doesn't come from pride. It comes from understanding you push someone too far. And now they're not threatening to leave. They're actually leaving. I drove with no destination. Ended up renting a small cabin 2 towns over. Cheap. Quiet. No distractions. I needed time. Not to think. To feel again. Away from her orbit. Away from the tension. Away from the performances we both had been trapped in for too long. The first night, I slept harder than I had in months. No cold shoulder on the other side of the bed. No space full of silent resentment. Just peace. Not because the pain was gone, but because the noise was. I woke up to 2 messages. I know I hurt you, but please don't leave me in this silence. A photo of her hand on a piece of paper. Just 3 lines written in blue ink. I thought I wanted space. What I really wanted was to feel wanted again. That one hit. Because it was real. Stripped of performance. No lipstick. No fake confidence. Just a woman sitting in the rubble of what she broke, trying to find language for regret. I didn't reply. Not yet. Instead, I went outside. Watched the wind move through the trees. Thought about every moment I'd made myself smaller for her comfort. Every time I reached out and was left hanging. Every second I convinced myself that loving someone meant enduring their absence without protest. I pulled out my journal. Wrote 3 possible outcomes. 1. Return, say nothing, let things go back to numbness. Fake peace. No confrontation. A slow emotional death. 2. Burn it down. Divorce. Finality. Cold exit. No explanations. 3. Return not as the man she left, but as the man who understands his worth, and see if she is ready to show up differently. The third option scared me most, because it required control. Not of her. Of me. That night, I texted her back one sentence. You said love isn't about intimacy, but it's not about distance either. No emojis. No invitation. Just that. A mirror. I went to bed knowing one thing. If she didn't meet me in this clarity, I wouldn't be coming back at all. I came back on a Wednesday evening. The house was clean. Too clean. Like she thought the smell of lemon polish and folded blankets could erase what we both knew. She stood in the doorway as I set my bag down. Didn't hug me. Didn't reach for me. Smart. I walked past her. Sat down at the kitchen table. She followed. Quiet, cautious. Like she didn't know which version of me she'd get now, the one who used to overfunction just to avoid a fight, or this one, still, silent, and done asking for crumbs. She sat across from me. I thought about what you said, she began. I nodded. Waited. I never realized how far I pushed you. I thought the space would fix things. I thought if I pulled away, you'd chase me. There it was. The confession hidden behind her coldness. Not strength. Strategy. Except it backfired. I didn't want to be chased, I said. I wanted to be chosen. Her breath caught. I kept going. And I'm not here to argue. I'm not here to unpack every moment you turned your back on this marriage. I'm here to tell you what's next. And you'll listen. She didn't blink. Didn't nod. Just froze. Because the power had shifted. And she could feel it. No more emotional manipulation, I said. No more weaponized distance. No more ambiguity. Her lip trembled, but I didn't soften. From now on, I give what I get. Energy for energy. Effort for effort. I leaned forward. And if I ever feel invisible in my own house again, I won't leave to cool off. I'll leave for good. She swallowed. You have the right to rebuild, I said. But you don't have the right to pretend this didn't happen. Tears started. Real ones. Not performative. Not calculated. I miss you, she whispered. I miss how it felt before I turned cold. I shook my head. You miss who I used to be. The man who tolerated being second. That man is gone. She buried her face in her hands. I let her sit in it. Because growth isn't just about confrontation. It's about witnessing someone else's clarity and realizing they're never going back to who they were for you. I don't know how to fix this, she said. You don't, I replied. You show up. Every day. Not for my forgiveness. For your own redemption. She looked up. And if I do? I stood. If you do, we'll see. I walked out of the room. Left her sitting at the table, the same one where this all started. This time, the silence wasn't mine. It was hers. The sound of someone watching the scales finally balance and realizing how heavy they really are. The shift didn't come like an apology. It came like an audition. Small things. She started cooking for 2 again. Not out of duty, but because the silence had tasted bitter and she was trying to sweeten it, even if I didn't bite. She asked about my day. Not in passing. With pause. With presence. She folded my laundry. Not because I asked, but because for years I did it without thanks, and now the absence of that care echoed like an empty drawer. Still, I didn't move toward her. Not to punish. To test. Because a woman can cry. A woman can confess. But if her patterns don't shift, it's all just stage lighting. So I watched. Quietly. And she kept showing up. Every day. No pleading. No manipulation. Just consistency. One night, I found a note in my gym bag. I don't expect your trust back. I'm just learning how to be someone who deserves it. I stared at that paper for 10 full minutes. Because that was the first thing she'd written that didn't center her own needs. It acknowledged the gap. The damage. The reality. But here's the thing about repairing something that's been shattered. Even if you glue the pieces together, you still see the cracks. I hadn't forgotten the way she said it that night. I'm not obligated to give you intimacy. The coldness. The conviction. She meant it then. And I remembered thinking, if I died tomorrow, that's what she'd bury with me. Distance, not devotion. That memory still stung. Even now, with her effort. Because what no one tells you is that healing after betrayal isn't about moving on. It's about recalibrating. Learning how to hold closeness without bracing for the next withdrawal. Some nights, she'd fall asleep earlier, not waiting for me to come to bed. I'd find her curled on one side, the blanket folded neatly, a space left open. Invitation, not expectation. That mattered. She wasn't reaching for me like I owed her warmth. She was hoping I'd decide to offer it again. That's the difference. One night, I stood at the edge of the bed for a long time. She turned, half asleep. "You okay?" she whispered. Thinking I said. About all of it. The woman she used to be. The version of me she taught to disappear. The space in between. The part of me that wanted to believe we could come back stronger, and the other part that screamed, "Don't you dare lower your guard again." I didn't answer her. Just sat down. Back turned. Silent. Because even in her softness, I had to remember. Respect isn't restored by apology. It's rebuilt brick by brick, in silence, in presence, in proof. And I needed more than moments. I needed months. Years. A lifetime. If she wanted to stay. It was a quiet Saturday morning. The kind that used to mean coffee in bed, soft music in the kitchen, and lazy plans that didn't matter. But now, everything mattered. Every word. Every gesture. Every silence. She came into the living room holding her phone like it weighed something. "I want to show you something," she said. I didn't respond. Just looked at her, then at the screen. It was her notes app. A long entry. Dated 2 months ago. Before the silence. Before the shift. She scrolled and handed it to me. I read. "I don't know if I love him anymore. I'm tired of pretending. I want space. I want to feel alive again. Maybe we're just roommates now. Maybe that's all we'll ever be." I kept reading. Sometimes I wonder what it would be like to start over with someone who doesn't know every tired version of me. It wasn't shocking. It was honest. Painfully honest. She sat down across from me, quiet. "I wrote that the week I told you I wasn't obligated to give you anything," she said. I nodded. She waited for me to speak. I didn't. Because in that moment, I wasn't angry. I was free. Not from her. From the illusion that I could have done something different to stop her from pulling away. This had been her spiral long before my silence. She wasn't broken. She was bored. And I was her mirror. "I needed you to read that," she said. "Because I don't want to lie to you anymore. Even by omission." I stared at her. "I've already lived with the silence," I said. "This isn't worse." She looked down. "I don't feel that way anymore," she said. "But I know it doesn't matter. You don't owe me anything now. Not trust. Not comfort. Nothing." That's when I saw it. The real shift. She wasn't pleading. She was surrendering. And not in weakness, in awareness. She finally understood that damage doesn't come from one wrong sentence. It builds, layer by layer, until you're sleeping beside someone who feels like a stranger and wondering how long you'll pretend they don't. I put the phone down, sat back, and thought. 3 paths. Again. Get up. Leave. No anger. Just finality. Let her live with the echo of her own distance. Let her back in. Quickly. Pretend this level of honesty means things are fixed. Stay. But on terms so honest, so unflinching, that neither of us could hide behind the old roles anymore. I looked her in the eyes. "I'm not who I was," I said. "I know. You don't get that version of me back. I don't want him. I want this one." That caught me off guard. Because for once, I believed her. Not because she was emotional, but because she was steady. Because she didn't reach across the table or cry or beg. She simply stayed seated, letting the weight of her words sit between us. And that was the first time I felt it. Not anger, not power, not pride, peace. Because now, it wasn't about proving anything. It was about choosing. I stood at the back door the next morning, coffee in hand, watching the light shift over the yard we used to talk about fixing. She was still asleep. No games. No new notes. No second speeches. Just silence. But for the first time in months, it wasn't cold. It was clean. Because I had nothing left to guess about her. And nothing left to hide in me. It wasn't about punishment anymore. Or balance. Or power. It was about peace. And whether I could have it here with her. I thought back to every stage. The version of me that overfunctioned. That made excuses for her coldness. That internalized her rejection as failure. Then the silence. The withdrawal. The reckoning. And finally, this version. Still. Clear. unmoved by guilt, driven only by truth. I knew what came next. I just had to say it. She came into the kitchen, barefoot, quiet. She didn't ask how I slept, didn't try to fill the air. Smart. She knew I wasn't looking for comfort. I turned. I've made my choice, I said. Her breath caught, but she didn't interrupt. I thought about leaving. Fully. No drama. No closure. Just silence, like you once gave me. She nodded, slow. I thought about staying, and pretending this shift made us better. I shook my head. That'd be worse than leaving. Then I took a breath. The truth is, I see you now. Not the version I tried to protect. Not the one I hoped you'd become. Just you. She looked away. I didn't stop. And I see me. The man who stayed too long without being seen. The man who begged with gestures instead of words. The man who now doesn't beg. I stepped forward. If we stay together, it's under one condition. She looked up. No more silent punishments. No more withheld affection. No more pretending you're not responsible for how cold this place became. She nodded again. Slower this time. And me? I said, I won't apologize for needing connection. I won't shrink to fit your seasons. I won't live on emotional breadcrumbs. She didn't cry, didn't break down. She just whispered, okay. And I believed her. Not because she was convincing, but because I finally wasn't afraid to walk away if she wasn't. That's what real clarity feels like. It's not softness. It's not fire. It's calm. I'm not promising forever, I said. Neither am I, she replied. I nodded. Good. Because we'd already lived in the illusion of permanence. What we needed now was something more rare. Presence. So I sat down across from her, sipped my coffee, and for the first time in a long time, it didn't taste bitter. It tasted earned. Real men don't explode. They exit. Subscribe for more power stories.